Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. We're back in the car. We're struggling to find places to film videos, but I've set myself the target of a video a day in the month of July, whether there's Euros football or not. I want to at least get something out every day this month. We've got the US pre-season tour coming up at the end of this month. I'm going to be flying to America. We're going to be covering everything. We're going to be road tripping. It's going to be fun. So if you're not yet subscribed to GBFC, then make sure you do, because we're not just going to be hitting next season hard. We're hitting the pre-season about as hard as you can go. We're flying to the US. We're driving around. We're going to all the matches, covering the start of Enzo Maresca's Chelsea reign. And we've signed Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. I spoke about it yesterday. And since then, I've been doing more research on Dewsbury-Hall. Today, we're going to look at some comparisons when it comes to key stats as a midfielder, when it comes to progressive actions compared to Conor Gallagher, Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo. I also want to look a little bit at the positives of this signing when it comes to those little things that Dewsbury-Hall has, having worked under Enzo Maresca before last season. And I think there is a lot to be said when a player comes in off the backing of a manager who's just worked with him. I think when you look at the calibre of midfielder that Chelsea have, you've got two £100 million men. You've got Enzo and Caicedo. There is such an onus on both of these two players to build a connection. And I think they obviously get on with one another. I don't think it's like, well, he's Ecuadorian, I'm Argentinian if you're Enzo. I don't like him, I'm not going to play with him. I think last season we didn't see Enzo anywhere near his best. So that partnership, as much as we can say, oh, they can't play together, for me, if you know that Enzo Fernandez was pretty much injured all season, it's not a surprise that they didn't build that connection and Gallagher and Caicedo as a partnership look better. So I think here, as much as I think the realistic choice or option for the club will be we sign Dewsbury-Hall, we still try and sell Conor Gallagher. You've got Spurs buying Archie Gray for 30-40 million. If Archie Gray's worth that, then what's Conor Gallagher worth? So if Chelsea are considering selling Gallagher for 40-50 million quid, then we've absolutely misjudged the market value of midfielders. Spending £30 million on Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, I'm going to tell you why I think this could actually be a masterstroke. And I know I've kind of changed my mind a bit from the more like reluctant, slightly pessimistic view that I gave in yesterday's video, but I'm starting to look into this more and think this could actually be a really smart Chelsea signing. So, if we take a little look here at the news regarding this, we have got the official confirmation. Dewsbury-Hall has joined Chelsea on £30 million deal from Leicester City, contract until June 2030, it's a 6-year deal, and the first comments that Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall has said as a Chelsea player: it is amazing to be sitting here as a Chelsea player. You put a quid on that, you'd have probably got some money back. That was going to be obvious. This is a club people grow up watching and hoping to one day play for. So it is a privilege to be here. I'm really excited to get going and can't wait to show everybody what I can do. When a player comes up from the Championship, having had Premier League experience, being back in the Premier League, it means you're excited and you're raring to go. When you stay at a newly promoted club, players like Dewsbury-Hall, who was Leicester's Player of the Year last year, I think he was also the Players' Player of the Year too, and obviously, having played under Enzo Maresca, he's going to be one of the quickest to learn and adapt to what Enzo Maresca wants Chelsea to do. When we look at the comments, there's not really much to analyse. It's pretty standard stuff when a player joins a new club. They're obviously going to say they're excited. They're obviously going to say it's amazing. And he's right. Chelsea are a club that when I'm, as a Chelsea fan, looking at players who join, I want players to join Chelsea who see Chelsea as a massive stepping stone in their career that they don't just want to jump to the next big stepping stone from. Chelsea should be the destination. And without trying to get all philosophical about it here, I still think, as much as we have been a bit of a joke for the last couple of years, Chelsea should still be that club. This time next year, we're going into a Club World Cup because we won the European Cup. We're still a massive institution. And when players are wanting to join us for that reason, we should get excited. Now, I want to talk a little bit here about the worries that I have with this deal, because there's actually more positives. So if I start with the negatives, then as the video goes on, we'll start to put some graphics up on the screen showing where Dewsbury-Hall could play, showing where he was more prominent in an Enzo Maresca 4-3-3 at Leicester last season. But my concerns about this deal, not just the fact that it probably means Gallagher will go. If Gallagher stays, then we're talking about a serious depth in the midfield. We're talking about building an actual squad here, where even if injuries plague us again, and last year we looked threadbare all over the field. We got Enzo playing through injections because he had to, because we didn't have fit enough players across all of the positions, not just the strikers, not just defenders, fullbacks. We had injuries everywhere. My concern is that there could be players that get sold other than Gallagher's, maybe your Chukwuemeka's, that maybe have more potential. Dewsbury-Hall is 25 years old. And I think that this could leave opportunities for players like Kiernan Chukwuemeka to be few and far between, stifling the potential of a player like an Andre Santos, Cesare Casadei, who was also under Enzo Maresca. But the more I take away this whole, maybe signing Dewsbury-Hall stops other players coming in. If you can take away this, want that I have, and maybe you guys have too, for existing Chelsea players to succeed, I think another issue that we might have here is that the numbers that we saw from Dewsbury-Hall in the Premier League compared to what we saw in the Championship are massively different. But I think at 25 years old, when you play under a systemic manager like Enzo Maresca, that's when you start to learn more about yourself as a player. And when you get given a role where you're clearly a prominent member and a very important member of the starting 11, that's why we saw Dewsbury-Hall's numbers inflate last season. It might not just be the fact that he was playing in the Championship, and I've got to kind of caveat that as a potential negative because there's a massive difference. Teemu Pukki plays for Norwich in the Championship, top goal scorer, guaranteed to get relegated the next year. Do you know what I mean? It's not always, if you're quality in the Championship, the step up is seamless again. Now, the reason I think this is a really smart Chelsea signing now, if we move it away from the negatives, because to be quite honest, 30 million in the current market is not bad. We've made 87.5 million quid from already selling Lewis Hall, Ian Martson, and I can't remember the other guy that we've already sold during this window, but we're making money. Chelsea are making money from player sales here. And as much as we need a striker, as much as we need a goalkeeper, as much as we need a centre-back, I still think that there is definitely space to bolster that midfield so that we have a strong squad. And if we're looking here at an Enzo Maresca 4-3-3, when we saw Dewsbury-Hall play last season, he's predominantly left-footed, with Enzo and Caicedo both being right-footed players. And I think when these two have played well together, I'm talking about Enzo and Caicedo here, they've been at their best together when they're playing close together. And in a possession-based system with a relatively slow build-up, you can have Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo close together in that Chelsea midfield, and with the ball-carrying capabilities that Dewsbury-Hall has, and being a left-footed player too, there's a lot more balance available in that midfield because he can go out to the left wing where Chelsea have also looked a bit toothless and lacklustre at times. We were so often last season always focusing the play down the right-hand side because Reece James and Malo Gusto, if Reece is fit, we are really good and solid on that right. You had Cole Palmer playing on the right-hand side, but you always know, and next season, if Palmer is having to be operating more on the right side, the Premier League defences are going to absolutely know that the only thing Palmer wants to do is cut inside. So what Chelsea are going to need to do this season is have a player who can roam around the midfield a little bit more, isn't just expected to be an anchor like a Caicedo is. Yes, he can carry it. Caicedo can also play those forward passes. What Dewsbury-Hall is also very good at is receiving the ball in the half spaces and on the turn. And he's got that pace to get around a Premier League holding midfielder, a defensive midfielder, to advance it further, to get Chelsea in more progressive positions quicker. And I think that is where we might see the technical ability of Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, making him potentially a starter over Conor Gallagher, even from the start, if Gallagher is also to stay. Dewsbury-Hall works hard. The goals and assists that we saw last season, I think 12 goals, 14 assists, these are massive numbers. And even though it's the Championship, if he can convert this into the Premier League, you've also got to remember that he's now going to be playing with better players. When you've got the ability to score, you've got the ability to assist, and you understand the manager is telling you what to do, which he obviously does because he's played his best football as a footballer at 25 years old under the new Chelsea manager. When you start adding better players around him and you start thinking, well, what did Chelsea struggle with last season? The amount of times we win the ball back and we've got it with the centre-backs, or we're playing it around the back four, or we give it to an Enzo, we give it to a Caicedo in the middle. What do we do then? There isn't that link player. And the onus was always on Cole Palmer or Nicholas Jackson to drop deep to be able to receive the ball and then either dribble and lose it, or we're passing it around looking for runners, looking for movement. And Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall absolutely offers that potential. He can be an outball for the defensive midfielders. He's great on the turn, works really well in those half spaces, and can link up the play with your Nkunkus, with your Palmers, Maduekes, Jacksons, even Mudryks in the final third. So I think the fact that he's a left-footed player is going to do wonders for the balance of this Chelsea midfield. And I think as much as signing a Championship player might not really get us thinking, oh, we're going to go and win the league next season, but realistically, to even think we could do that anyway would be daft after what we've seen in the last 2 years and what we've seen under these new owners. But I do think when you give a manager, you're bringing in on a massive contract, you're giving him a long deal, and you say to him, what do you think you need here? And he's like, well, I worked with this guy before, 30 million in the modern footballing market. This could actually work out as a masterstroke from Enzo Maresca and Chelsea Football Club. This isn't to say that I'm belittling the importance that we need to sign other players. We need to get another centre-back in, I think. Maybe a left-back. We desperately need another striker, although, don't know about you lot, but I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Marc Guiu so far. I don't know what it is. I feel like he's going to be good. He says he wants to be the best striker in the world. I know I want to be the best striker in the world too. Do you know what I mean? But at least, I'm not contracted to Chelsea. He is. So 5 million, stealing from the old enemy, let's go. So I think so far, signing Tosin on a free, good centre-back, think he's a decent player, can bring a lot to the club. That's smart business. I'm also thinking Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall playing under Enzo Maresca as a left-footed midfielder that brings goals and assists to the team and has got a bit of quality in the final third. I absolutely think this could be brilliant. When you look at the big chances created, I know that when you see numbers like 0.3, you might think that doesn't seem very high. Compare the 0.03 created by Caicedo to the 0.3 from Dewsbury-Hall. This guy is progressive. This guy does his best work in the final third. And I think that is what Chelsea need to unlock the brilliance of a Caicedo-Enzo partnership by bringing balance and more progressive play to what this midfield can offer. I think signing Dewsbury-Hall pretty much, to me, confirms that we're probably going to go with a 4-3-3 set up at the start of this season. I think that's what he's going to want to do, which is predominantly what he did most at Leicester, and Dewsbury-Hall was usually the most advanced of those three. And when you think about Enzo, Caicedo, that's probably the pivot that he's going to want, or those are the players he's going to want. I think it gets Enzo further up the pitch as well. I think it gives Caicedo, and look, Caicedo's having an amazing tournament for Ecuador. Amazing end to the season for Chelsea. I think we're really going to see one of the best midfielders in the world next season in Moises Caicedo. Give him more of a license to dominate in front of that back line. Then get it out to Enzo, Dewsbury-Hall more advanced. Then you've got the players like Palmer, Jackson and Nkunku making a difference in the final third. I'm starting to get excited here. I hope that what I've said in this video today can also start to get you thinking about this could be a smart deal for Chelsea Football Club. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall is a Chelsea player. I'm excited to see him. We're going to see him in less than a month in America, maybe against Wrexham. Subscribe to GBFC if you are new around here and haven't already done so. Smack a like if you agree with anything I said in this video. And as always, your thoughts are very well appreciated in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching. Come on, you Blues.